It's the quiet that's initially unnerving. It's not supposed to be quiet in here, and this is the only time of year when it is. The first couple of weeks are a rehash of rules for equipment usage and safety procedures that I could recite verbatim if anybody asked. Nobody asks. Everybody knows I know them. I could teach this class if I wanted to. I throw my books down on the far corner work table where I sit every year, at least during the time we're expected to sit. Miss Jennings, a cute 20-something woman with a blonde bob, pale skin, and hatefully perfect piano-playing hands, makes us sit in a circle, an elementary school duck-duck-goose-style circle. This affords each of us the best possible vantage point for studying and subsequently dissecting one another. Oh, and getting to know each other, of course. That too. As get to know you games go, this isn't the worst time endured. Everyone has to say 3 things about themselves, and one of those things has to be a lie. Then the class tries to figure out which one is the lie. It's kind of sad that I'm not actually going to take part in the game, because if I was going to play, it would be fairly awesome. I'm pretty sure I would hand over large quantities of cash to listen to my classmates and the adorable blonde pixie teacher debate the possible veracity of each of my responses. My name is Nastya Kashnikov. I was a piano-playing prodigy who doesn't belong anywhere near an intro to music class. I was murdered 2.5 years ago. Discuss. Instead,